Listen to me. If there was a wise man who would ever think of this, they would say in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. For I am the man himself.
What is going on? How you guys all doing tonight? Because tonight, my friends, it is a big night for the man. For I am the man himself. And this is a special video. This is a video that I've been working on for quite a few months now. Just busy because of the wedding and all sorts of things. But I was putting a lot of effort, getting a lot of graphics ready for this video, and now tonight, hope to God the quality comes out good, I am ready to produce. So I am recording this, and I will upload it tonight as long as I think the quality comes out great. So see, the title for this video is my WWE Worst Matches of All Time 2023 edition. This is a video response to Just Alyx's recent video. I do not know why, but when he did this back in 2015, I don't know, it's one of my favorite videos that personally he's ever done, and one of my favorite videos I've watched on YouTube. So I do not know why, it just stuck out to me. So back in 2018, and as you've seen with the shorts I've done on TikTok and on YouTube here, I have been like hyping it up by posting the shorts from the 2018 version. As I was doing each short, I made the graphic. So before we get started and get with this list, which again, these lists are always going to be subjective. There's no way you can have like a big concrete list. It's all in the minds of my opinion as a wrestling fan. I've only been a wrestling fan since 2013. So of course, along the way, I've learned different aspects of wrestling that have affected my picks for these lists. Now, of course, this 2018 list, I would say, was pretty solid. But, of course, I will mention how I decided on the other matches for this new list coming up. So, from the past list from 2018, at number 10, we had anything on a pole match, which was basically anything involving like the kendo stick on a pole or like contact on a pole. Basically, stipulation in general. But the two I talked about in that video were the Bayley and Alexa Bliss kendo stick on a pole at Extreme Rules 2017, and Jason Jordan and Elias guitar on a pole on an episode of Raw. At number 9, we had Big Show and Cody Rhodes at Extreme Rules 2012 in a tables match. At number 8 was Lesnar and Ambrose, WrestleMania 32. Number 7 was Taker and Big Boss Man, Hell in a Cell, WrestleMania 15. Then Taker and Giant Gonzalez at WrestleMania 9, number 6. Number 5 was Cena and Laurinatis at Over the Limit. Number 4 was Lesnar and Goldberg, WrestleMania 20. Number 3 was a 2015 Royal Rumble match. Number 2 was the Miss WrestleMania Battle Royale at WrestleMania 25. And number 1 was Michael Cole and Jerry the King Lawler at WrestleMania 27. So that's not too bad of a list. I'd say for the most part it was pretty strong. Not all, there's going to be some we're going to have repetition of. And this is not going to be me just like keeping the same order but bumping them down. Again, as I become more of a wrestling fan, I've gone back and watched all the WrestleManias, all the Royal Rumble matches, all the Summerslams. So all matches on my new list I have seen. They're ones that I have a valid argument to say that they are in fact one of the worst matches ever, in my opinion, in WWE history, of course. But yeah, not all these I say that I would agree with. Like one, for example, that's not on this new list is the Lesnar and Ambrose WrestleMania 32. Now, that was a big letdown of a match. And we all know the story. Brock didn't want to do anything. According to the Wade Keller interview that Mox had after he left WWE, it just sounded like that Brock just didn't view it as like a match that was that important on the card. I do get what they were going with, Ambrose using the weapons, but then Lesnar was just like throwing them all away. But it was just a big letdown after excellent build and whatnot. But I can't look at it anymore and say it's really one of the worst matches I have ever seen. A few others there as well, but several of these, again, we will be seeing on this list once again. So again, the new list, again, most of this new list was mostly, to me, a lot of like black marks. Stuff that just left a bad taste. Stuff that was just like super insulting to us wrestling fans. As of course, bad matches happen, but some of these, you could tell that it could have been avoided. Mostly by upper management with WWE, which of course Vince McMahon. Some, of course, it was not Vince's fault. One of them, it was the wrestler's fault. So yeah, some of these stood out like a sore thumb to me. And for the most part, this list was pretty solid and easy to put together. Well, from the ideas I thought of. I did have a little bit of help, though. And I will talk about that, though, in a second. Because before we get to the actual list, we're going to talk about some honorable mentions.
Honorable mentions.
So, my honorable mentions, I have 5 of them. And the honorable mentions actually came because when I put this list together, I probably had maybe about a good 20, 30 some matches that I had put together that I kind of narrowed it down to the final 10, of course. I would say the first 9 were pretty easy for me to figure out. But I was struggling with number 10, and I couldn't decide between 6 matches. So, shout out also to Just Alyx, who I do hope does get to check out this video, since this is a video response to his recent video. I actually tweeted a couple polls on Twitter, and he actually retweeted a couple of those polls, and I got a lot of votes. So that was much appreciated, and I thank you very much, Alex, for doing that. So, since there were 6 of them, the 5 honorable mentions are the 5 that were on the polls, but didn't make it to number 10. And I'll, of course, go in order from the least amount of votes to the highest amount of votes. Basically, it's like an 11 to 15 thing. So the one that had the least amount of votes, as you see here on the graphic, was the Street Profits versus the Viking Raiders at Backlash 2020. Now, this was at the beginning of the pandemic era, and Vince McMahon, with things not being live and being pre-taped, had a lot more leverage to do a lot of goofy things that he could not get away with doing on live TV. And one of them, of course, was cinematic matches. I think what happened was, with the success of the first one he did, which was Undertaker and AJ Styles in the Boneyard match at WrestleMania 36, he kind of thought that was his new shiny toy. Unfortunately, though, none of the other matches ever really lived up to the expectations or lived up to the quality like that first one did. And that's one of the cases with this match here. For those who forgot about it, this is a face-on-face Raw tag title, anything you could do, I can do better feud. It was a bunch of terrible comedy segments involving them doing like bowling or like track and field, axe throwing. On top of that, we have Ivar's turkey foot romance, they called it, where he'd get a turkey foot to a girl and she'd tell him, you're cute. And Eric would get the, you, not so much. You know that was a Vince McMahon line there. But anyways, the only pay-per-view match they had was this random cinematic match that just, I don't even know what to call it. It was like a random brawl all over like a luxury suite or something like that. I don't know what it was, but it made absolutely no sense. Again, the comedy aspects were thrown in there. The random run-ins were horrible, including with Akira Tozawa and his freaking ninjas. This was the debut of that. And then the match ended when all 4 of them fell into a dumpster and it was being lifted up, but then it just cuts and there was no conclusion to the match. And then on Raw, they just show up like nothing happened. So, what was the point of that? Like, it made no sense. It was a bunch of horrible comedy. And once again, as I always say, comedy is not meant for everybody. It is not meant for the Viking Raiders and the freaking turkey foot romance. But alas, again, it got the least amount of votes of the 6 for the number 10 spot. The one after that got the second least amount of votes was The Bar versus Braun Strowman and a partner of his choosing for the Raw tag titles at WrestleMania 34. Now, 2018 was where Braun Strowman's career began to fall. 2017, he was definitely the superstar of the year, but they booked him too strong that when he was constantly not being capitalized at the highest point, getting the Universal title, fans started to just not care anymore because, once again, it was getting too late. So, of course, what happens? He gets thrown consolation prize after consolation prize. And this was one of them. He just roughshod through a battle royale, one opportunity for the fight for the Raw tag titles, but he had to have a partner. And we all know Braun Strowman does not like to work with other people. So for weeks, they're hyping up the idea of a partner. There was rumors of Samoa Joe, Cassius Ohno. Even Bobby Lashley was a rumor, because he was, of course, did come back after WrestleMania 34. But, of course, they did these dumb comedy stuff. Like, they had a segment where Braun Strowman came out dressed up as, like, a nerd. He called himself Brains Strowman. And it was stupid. So, WrestleMania 34 comes. And we still don't know who the partner is. Braun Strowman comes out. And he says his partner is going to be someone from the crowd. And we're like, what? But it's like, hold on here. Maybe there's someone from like NXT or some big name in the crowd. Kind of like when The Rock picked out Ronda Rousey from the crowd at WrestleMania 31. No. He goes into the crowd and he grabs 10-year-old Nicholas Cone, who is the son of a referee, John Cone. History was made because some random kid who is the son of a referee won the tag titles just because. And as my good friend Rodman Kenobi says, Braun Strowman in this match went from the freaking monster among men to the freaking babysitter among men. It was so stupid. It was like, the match was like, everybody was done with the match before it began. And of course, the following night on Raw, they relinquished the tag titles because Nicholas had to go back to school. What did this do? To me, again, this made Braun Strowman look worse. It made the Bar look like chumps also, even though there was nobody else from the fight. It made them look like idiots as well. The kid did nothing. I mean, again, cool for the kid at the moment, but once again, there's a bunch of other young guys who worked so hard for them to have the chance to be the youngest to win a championship. Now a random 10-year-old kid who, no offense, had no business being in the wrestling ring, got this moment. And to me, it did nothing but just continue to send Braun Strowman downward spiral, in my opinion. Moving on, though, the one that had was in the middle of the pack came in third. The third honorable mention is the Undertaker versus Big Boss Man, Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania 15. Now, of course, this is on my 2018 list, and at the time, this, in my opinion, was the worst Hell in a Cell match. I didn't really see much of the story, but again, I did watch the match WrestleMania 15. Compared to all the other Hell in a Cell matches, at the time, in 2018, this was the worst. And I still would say it is one of the worst Hell in a Cell matches. Spoiler, because there's going to be another one mentioned later on. It was just a slow match. No business really being inside the cell. Just nothing interesting. Taker won. But the thing also about this match, afterwards, we had the Ministry of Darkness come out and just randomly hang Big Boss Man. Very suggestive and not really the best, look. Like, okay, at the time, it was not a PG product, but this is a little too far, I thought. And with how bad the match was, and then this, it's like, ugh. Pretty ugly, and just not one of my favorite moments from, when I watch as a wrestling fan. But it didn't quite make the cut, but it was definitely one I did consider. The next one after that is D-Generation X versus the Brothers of Destruction at Crown Jewel 2018. Now, a little confession to make here. I have never actually watched this match. Never. The only reason why it's on here, though, is because I did see the build, I just didn't watch the show. But I've heard stuff, and I know that this match was horrible, that it was not worth Shawn Michaels, who stayed long holding true to his retirement, for him to come out and put on an embarrassing match like this apparently was. Everybody apparently in this match looked super old. It was so bad that even Kane had his mask got knocked off, and Triple H, of course, tore his pec in this match. That, here's the thing, if this match would have won, I would have watched it. Again, I considered it because I heard how bad it was, and I did see the build for the match. So again, I considered it, and I would have watched it if it would have won. It didn't, though, so it was stuck as an honorable mention. And then finally, the last honorable mention we have here, and the one that came the closest to being on my list but didn't quite make it, was The Miz versus Damian Priest in the Zombie Lumberjack match at WrestleMania Backlash 2021. Now, this was the fallout from the tag match with Bad Bunny at WrestleMania 37. And it was advertised as a lumberjack match. I'm like, okay, this will be solid. Nice way to give Damian Priest a rub as a singles competitor. And then there was more to the story than we knew. So apparently, Vince McMahon, and this was not really announced until right before the match happened at Backlash, but Vince McMahon was being paid for a sponsorship with a Netflix movie starring Dave Bautista called Army of the Dead. And he was going to use this match as his sponsorship. So I thought it was a little weird when they brought out The Miz and Damian Priest first for the Lumberjacks. And you think, like, oh, maybe someone in the Lumberjacks get like a rub or something like that. No. The match was dead before the match even started because out came men, grown men, dressed up like zombies. And Miz and Damian Priest and John Morrison, anybody else who was involved in this match, commentators, all of them, sold the zombies like they were actual zombies. Stuff like this, and again, hardcore wrestling fans like me get pissed off when people say that wrestling is fake, and I always say, well, it's their jobs to make it look real. This makes it look fake as hell. It was horrible. The moment it came out, and then again, they had Miz and Damian Priest, who were supposed to be fighting each other, fighting off the zombies. My thing is why bring out zombies when either way, they're going to want to try to attack them? And then John Morrison got involved. Damian Priest eventually won, but then after he left, they got in there and basically ate up Miz. And then Miz and John Morrison show up on Raw, and they're not zombies, but shouldn't they be zombies if the zombies got to their flesh? Again, this is another cinematic match where Vince McMahon was playing around with his new toy and all of his leverage and doing all this horrible crap that literally was just bad television. Imagine if this was live, of course, and this was in front of a live audience. I wonder how that sponsorship went out very well, because this was horrible. But it didn't quite get enough votes to be on my top 10 list. But with that being said, those were my honorable mentions. And we're going to find out now what number 10 was. It is a match that was on the 2018 list. And to me, again, it's before I started wrestling, but I did watch this match. And I still to this day say, how was this able to happen? Like, why did they couldn't have anybody else do this, but it had to go down this way? Let's get to my number 10, and we're going to go back to 2012. Number 10, John Cena versus John Laurinatis. No disqualification at Over the Limit 2012. So John Cena, 2012 apparently was the worst year of his life because he lost to The Rock at WrestleMania. Yet, look at what else happened to him. He beat Brock Lesnar in Brock Lesnar's first match back at Extreme Rules. He won Money in the Bank. Spoiler alert, he got John Laurinaitis fired, and he got to make out with AJ Lee. Yes, I know she dumped him, but, who else gets to do that? But, anyways. So this match at Over the Limit 2012, John Cena versus John Laurinaitis, was a no disqualification match. The match would be one-on-one. Any superstar who gets involved in the match and tries to help Laurinaitis win, and if Laurinaitis tries to pull any of his powers with an active superstar, then Laurinaitis will be, then that superstar will be terminated, And should Laurinatis lose to John Cena, then he will be officially terminated. First off, here's my question. Why did it have to be John Cena to be the one to put out John Laurinatis? Yes, and I still think, in my opinion, it should have been CM Punk. Yes, I know Punk was the champion, but still. This storyline started because John Laurinatis used used CM Punk's and Triple H's hate for each other as a way to play them both for him to get more power. So why wasn't it CM Punk to be the one to put John Laurinatis out of power? Why did it have to be John Cena? Once again, as everything is saying, why did it always have to be the same person being the superhero? Again, this is around a time where they should have turned Cena heel, but of course they didn't capitalize on it, as usual. So, it sets up for this match. It's a no disqualification match. And John Cena and John Laurinatis get about 20 to 25 minutes. Keep in mind, this match main evented over Daniel Bryan and CM Punk, which was a hell of a lot better than this match. And this was 20-25 minutes of John Cena just beating the crap out of John Laurinatis, making him look like an absolute joke. Which, of course, he was, but it was just like, get to the point, just end this, let's move on, get Johnny fired, and let's get out of here. Nope. They had John Laurinatis at the last second after Cena's been humiliated. Basically, remember, around this time also, they did a match with John Cena and Michael Cole. This was basically that, except on pay-per-view. So, Laurinatis gets like a chair shot in on Cena and was able to try to make a grand escape. So, it looked like at first that John Laurinatis just giving up his job. Well, we then have the Big Show drag Laurinatis back in. Now, the previous week on Raw, Laurinatis fired Big Show for making fun of his voice. Big Show throws Laurinatis back in. Cena's got him up, about to hit the AA, just for Big Show to knock him out, turn heel for the 20th time probably, and John Laurinatis pins the guy that they would let nobody else pin. 1, 2, 3. John Laurinatis wins the match. Just to do John Cena and the Big Show inside a steel cage at No Way Out. And again, what was the point? What was the point? Cena didn't need this. He didn't need to do this to be the big superhero once again. Again, they could have let Punk get the spotlight. No, they couldn't give that to him. So you let everyone else eat the golden shovel with John Cena. But you could let, of all people, John Laurinatis, who Cena spent 25 minutes beating the piss out of, get a pinfall victory over him. And for the Big Show to just turn for the 50 millionth time and, get bad booking as a heel again? Terrible match. A terrible call for a main event, and it just still disgusts me. Definitely worthy of being on this list. And again, this was the one that won the polls for the number 10 spot for my top 10 worst wrestling matches. 2023 edition. So that was number 10. Number 9 was a match that just took place about 2 years ago, around this time. And it was a match, to me, that just officially killed my interest and basically caused me to pack my bags and move on from a certain product. A certain show that I never saw myself giving up on. But of course I did because of this match. Let's roll now with my number 9. Number 9. Jeff Hardy versus Karrion Kross. Monday Night Raw, July 19th, 2021. Okay, so July 19th, 2021. Jeff Hardy, Karrion Kross. First off, this was the first episode of Raw with fans since before the pandemic began. And it was advertised that Karrion Kross would be making his main roster debut. As around this time, Vince McMahon was giving tryout matches for several NXT stars, which, funny enough, most of them he released a couple months later, one being Karrion Kross. And yeah, so anyways, this was the first Raw with fans back. And I was interested to see Karrion Kross come up to the main roster. Now, let's step back here for a second. NXT during the pandemic era is one of the shows that really took a hit. It is true, without Full Sail and their Full Sail crowd, NXT was just not the same. But with the return of Samoa Joe, the feud of Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole, and a few others, around this time, NXT was starting to heat up again. To me, though, it was like this match right here made it look like it had one last little spur of momentum, and then this right here, BAM! Dagger right in the back, killed it all for me. Killed it all for me so bad that I said, TakeOver 36 is it. I'm done. Because you knew it was Vince McMahon giving his grubby hands and him killing something that he didn't, that he never started in the first place. So anyways, let's talk about this. So we also have to talk about Jeff Hardy here. Jeff Hardy, who had re-signed with the company after his brother left for AEW. Jeff Hardy re-signed because WWE had promised him his No More Awards theme song once the fans came back. This, of course, being the first Raw with fans, Jeff Hardy brought that song back. And when he came out, I'm like, it's funny he's debuting this when he's going to be losing to Karrion Kross. Because also, this past year with Jeff Hardy on Raw, he was booked like a joke. He was a jobber. Yes, he's a Hall of Famer, but he was booked like an absolute joke. So right now, you don't take him seriously. You got Karrion Kross, who is your NXT champion, making his main roster debut. It's being built in NXT like the newest Goldberg, newest Brock Lesnar. He's getting that monster push. Comes out, wrestles Jeff Hardy, and loses to him on a roll-up in 90 seconds. That's where I was. You had Karrion Kross come to the main roster, lose in 90 seconds to a jobbed-out Jeff Hardy as your NXT champion. Now, I know a lot of people are saying, well, what about Carmelo Hayes and Finn Balor from just a few weeks ago on Raw? Yes, I do agree that was not a good idea either, but at least it was a competitive match. This was the competitive match. Jeff Hardy snuck a victory on Karrion Kross and made him look horrible. Your NXT champion could not beat a jobbed-out Jeff Hardy. This was Karrion Kross' first loss in WWE. And that's how they're going to do it? Again, this completely killed NXT for me. This is, again, I was already like losing interest in the product whatsoever at this time, although I was very hot and excited for the match with Karrion Kross and Samoa Joe, and really felt they're on its way back. This match, though, completely cut off all that excitement. I hated it. I absolutely hate it. Again, it was, to me, again, as I said in the intro, this was a black mark on the company, in my opinion. This is a black mark on NXT. Because right after that was announced that NXT 2.0 was coming out. And Vince McMahon was going to get more involved in NXT. And of course, Karrion Kross, continued to be booked like crap for a few weeks on the main roster, was never seen again, and then he got released. Terrible match. Again, a terrible moment in wrestling as well. Again, literally, to me, the death of NXT was this match right here. Again, Jeff Hardy, Hall of Famer, but when you book him like a joke, how in the hell can you have him lose to an undefeated NXT champion who is being built like the next Goldberg or Brock Lesnar? He looked like an absolute joke here. It was horrible. So yeah, that is my number 9 on this top 10 list. Now my number 8, this number 8 is actually another match that was on my previous list, but it was part of like a grouping, as you remember when I go over my list. And I still kept it and still put it up top a little bit higher because this was the ideal way of how you not book a babyface. How you can also easily just destroy somebody's momentum and destroy something that was once gold over one little match like this in 2 minutes and 47 seconds. Let's roll in with number 8. Number 8, Bayley versus Alexa Bliss. Kendo stick on a pole match for the Raw Women's Championship at Extreme Rules 2017. Oh my gosh. I can't tell you how much I miss NXT. Hugger, fangirl, Bayley. Again, the heel gimmick has had its good moments, but again, I'm just ready for Bayley to be liked again. I miss it. But I definitely do not miss this match. And I do not miss especially how Bayley was booked in 2017 and of course 2018 as well. Because after this, literally all Bayley and Sasha Banks did for a good year and a half was do nothing but fight the Riot Squad. This right here was the true death of the Hugger gimmick, the Hugger character. So, Bayley was called to the main roster in 2016. And she was kind of thrown in the main event scene right away. And they gave her the title shortly after the Royal Rumble. But of course, she didn't win it like a typical babyface. But acted like it was okay the way she won it. Which was one strike right there. Then of course, she would drop the title eventually to Alexa Bliss at Payback in 2017. Then they set up for this rematch at Extreme Rules. And Bayley having the goody two shoes, hugger, fangirl character has a segment with Kurt Angle where she says she is ready to get extreme. Basically step out of her comfort zone and get retribution on Alexa Bliss. Especially also how Alexa Bliss embarrassed her on live TV in the horrible Bayley, This Is Your Life. Which, true story, I still to this day have not watched that segment. I don't plan on it ever. But anyways, Kurt Angle agrees, and he sets up a match that was literally almost as flat as Jason Jordan being revealed as his illegitimate son. And that is kendo stick on a pole. You talk about, baby steps. Kendo stick on a pole, where the objective is you have to grab the kendo stick and you can use it. So does that mean that the first person who grabs it can use it, but nobody else can? It was, again, anything on a pole, as I've always said, any of those matches, it's just a watered down ladder match. And half the time, the results are stupid. And this was no exception. Except it was worse. Because during the match, well, first off, Bayley and Alexa Bliss, anytime they wrestled, whether it was 2017, in 2019 when they feuded, and even earlier this year when they had a match for the number one contendership for the Raw Women's title, they never had good chemistry. And that happens. Sometimes two great, competitors just don't have chemistry and they don't work together. It happens. But this match is even worse. Because when Bayley got the kendo stick, even though it was legal and she said she was ready to get extreme, she didn't use the kendo stick. She didn't want to use it because she didn't have a freaking backbone and thought it would violate her goody two shoes character. So Alexa Bliss just grabs the kendo stick and just wallops the hell out of Bayley for the next 2 minutes and beats her. It was the true definition of the death of a great character that Vince McMahon just ruined because he did not create it. So he had to make her how he saw her. A 5-year-old delusional kid who just cut some awful promos about poems and oh God, it was so cringe. It was so cringe. I keep saying the way they should have booked Bayley for this match is how they booked her when she was building for her rematch against Asuka at TakeOver Brooklyn 2. Remember? She was, she wasn't violent, but she was much more serious. And she should have used the kendo stick on Alexa Bliss. Had she used the kendo stick and of course it backfired on her, okay. But she didn't even want to use it because she was afraid to use it. And why the heck should we care about her then? Not long after that, she had an arm injury, and while she's cutting a sympathetic promo, she was booed. Oh, gosh. And then, like I said, after this, for like a good year and a half, she did nothing but have matches with the Riot Squad. And it was just horrible. Horrible. Not as horrible as this match, but it was bad. Oh, gosh. So that is my number 8 pick for worst matches of all time. Number 7. What actually is number 7? Oh! We're not done yet with the women. We are not yet done with the women. This next match was actually higher up on my list. But of course, I have digressed and have seen other matches that was worse than this. And again, this was before my time as a wrestling fan. But I've seen this match. And even when I saw it, even I thought it was horrible. And I didn't even know the story. Well, funny enough there was no story. And this match just appeared out of nowhere. And you didn't even know who the heck was in this match. And of course, who won this match? Let's roll into it now.
Number 7. The Miss Wrestlemania Diva Battle Royale at WrestleMania 25.
WrestleMania 25. There was a Kid Rock concert. And during that concert, all these divas start walking to the ring. You don't know, of course, who is involved, but they're just walking to the ring. There was no advertisement, nothing else really promoting this match. You don't even know who the hell was even in this match. And the bell rings, and then again, divas just start going out left and right. And again, you found out who was in the match when they were eliminated. You would hear people like Mickie James just been eliminated. Tori Wilson has been eliminated. Molly Holly has been eliminated. So it's kind of a little insulting too, don't you think? Especially since you're not even acknowledging them, then they're just being eliminated like they're jokes. Like, again, you don't know what the hell's going on here. So how can you follow along? And then we get to the end with the winner. Throughout the match, and this is something that I feel like not people point out, but of course, I knew who won this match whenever I first watched it. So I kept a close eye on this person. That person was Santino Marella, but he was dressed up in drag and called himself Santina Marella. He was walking around the match the entire time, in the ring, and literally any woman who was in his vicinity walked around him and acted like he did not even exist. Which I even already thought that made Aaron look even more dumber. Again, I went into the match knowing Santina won. Again, I had heard the story before I had watched the match. But you know when I saw that? That's why I even soured on this match more. And again, it just like the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. It's insulting because you had a man win this match. He won the match over Beth Phoenix, over Molly Holly, over Tori Wilson, over Eve Torres, over all these other women who have worked their butts. And instead, of course, Vince McMahon, who obviously had something against the Divas, because probably it's a lot of women he can't control, has a man win a Divas Battle Royale. Just for a comedy skit to give him a nice looking laugh. And they crowned Santina Marella as Miss WrestleMania. Once again, you know how many other people probably worked hard to earn this opportunity, to earn a shot to have this title, and then they pull stunts like this. It's just horrible. And again, the fact that you had him in there and everyone acted like he didn't even exist, which I thought made everybody look even more stupid than it already was. Definitely atrocious, definitely horrible, and definitely one of the worst matches of all time. And again, this dropped. This was number 2 on my 2018 list. But of course, there's other matches that I've seen that I do have a change of heart and think was worse than this. And also, this ain't even the last women's match on this list. We'll get to that in a couple more picks. But now we have our number 6 pick. Number 6 was also a repeat from the 2020 and 2018 list. And this is one of those matches where the WWE did everything they could to hype up this match, to get everybody excited for it. And it wasn't them who didn't capitalize. It was the wrestlers who didn't capitalize. Let's roll in now with our number 6.
Number 6, Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 20.
Oh boy. Yeah. Whew. Brock Lesnar and Goldberg, at one point in the early 2000s, were two of the most dangerous men in a wrestling ring. We had Goldberg, who went 173-0 at one point in WCW. And again, that win streak was just built so specially. Built as a megastar. Nobody could touch him. He was a freaking monster. Then you have Brock Lesnar, who came in 2002, ran roughshod over everybody. I think he beat the Rock for the title at SummerSlam just a couple months after he debuted. Won the Royal Rumble in 2013. Had an excellent match with Kurt Angle at the following year's WrestleMania, although he almost broke his neck whenever he did that freaking shooting star press. Basically, he was just on the ride of his life. And then, of course, around Rumble in 2004, he starts picking a fight with Goldberg. As again, two of the men are two of these big combat sports, like big guy heavyweights that you just wanted to see go after each other and have a big bloodbath match. It was a dream match back in 2004. So at Rumble, I believe, as they're picking fights each other, Brock Lesnar cost Goldberg his match, and then which led to Goldberg costing Brock Lesnar his world title at Elimination Chamber to Eddie Guerrero. And it set up the perfect story for the perfect match for WrestleMania 20. So much so that everybody couldn't wait to see these two just go at it. They built so much hatred between these two that they brought in Stone Cold Steve Austin as the special guest referee to just, contain this match and stop it from going out of control. And literally everything was set up perfectly. The match, in order to capitalize, was handed to the entire company on a silver freaking platter. And all of the all Brock Lesnar and Goldberg had to do was go out there and do what they do best. And instead, we got an absolute crap fest of a match. What happened was, it was leaked on the internet that Brock Lesnar was going to be leaving WWE after WrestleMania 20 to go back to the NFL. And Goldberg was not happy with the company, and he wanted out. So literally, the moment the match starts, the crowd turned on both of them instantly. They first started off by booing Lesnar, but when Goldberg didn't give a crap either, they booed both of them. And there was like a good 10-15 minute matches of just them yelling at each other, some slow, long lockups, a jackhammer, and a spear, and that was it. And then they were like telling off the crowd as they were both leaving, not to be seen again, of course, until Brock came back in 2012 and Goldberg came back in 2016. And once again, it was one of those moments where, again, WWE did everything right with the build for this match. The only two people you can blame for this match being horrible were Brock Lesnar and Goldberg. Even though, again, both of them wanted out, they had both feet out the door, they could not care to at least put on the classic these two could have done. Of course, they came when they both were in the company again in 2016, and the whole goal was for Goldberg to kind of erase that bad exit. Yes, I know they were older, probably couldn't put on the match they could have put on here. They still put on hell of a better matches. The squash match by Goldberg on Lesnar at Survivor Series 2016, excellent. Even their WrestleMania 33 match was short, but it was good. That's the match they should have had. Of course, they could have been better with them in this state. But of course, right here, on this show, they didn't give one crap to even put on an excellent match. Definitely, in my opinion, one of the worst matches of all time, one of the worst matches in WrestleMania, and definitely one of the worst matches of their careers. It's definitely the last one for Goldberg on this list. We got another one to get to in just a little bit. But, oh man, it was awful. It was so freaking ugly. And just a bad moment for WWE at number 6. Brock Lesnar and Goldberg, WrestleMania 20. Whew! All right. We're getting now to the top 5 here, people. Let's take a quick drink of Coke. Because we're seeing red. We're seeing red and another black mark on the company. A moment where it absolutely destroyed a top babyface. And this match also, at the time I'll say, ruined one of the best concepts, one of the best gimmick matches WWE has ever created. And of course, this was also a moment where it just shows that even though the pay-per-view is there, it shows that match stipulations as a pay-per-view cannot be the case. Oh gosh. Let's roll into it and let's talk about number 5 as we venture inside Hell in a Cell.
Number 5. Seth Rollins versus The Fiend Bray Wyatt. Hell in a Cell match for the Universal Championship at Hell in a Cell 2019.
Unreal. I still cannot believe that Vince McMahon pulled this stunt off and expected everybody to be okay with this. Unreal. First off, I still remember this pay-per-view from Adam. This was one of the worst pay-per-views I ever saw. And I say that because it only had 4 announced matches and 4 filler matches. 4 matches they just threw on the card that day. How could you not be prepared for a pay-per-view and literally throw together just some random matches? Unbelievable. But of course, there were still a couple of good matches on this card. But unfortunately, we had the worst Hell in a Cell match to ever take place on this card. This match still stands out to me very vividly today. And let me say it this way. How on earth Seth Rollins ever recovered and was able to become a babyface again is beyond me. So first off, why did this match even have to happen? Bray Wyatt just repackaged with a gimmick that he created, The Fiend. And it was getting superstar, megastar reaction when it first appeared. But then, after just, one match? Yeah, I think the only match he had before this as The Fiend was when he beat Finn Balor at SummerSlam. He basically squashed Finn and wrote him off TV before he got sent back to NXT. So then, Vince McMahon thought, hey, I have an idea. Let's throw him in a Universal title match inside Hell in a Cell. Great idea, huh? First off, we have Seth Rollins as Universal Champion at this time, who, I'm sorry, but the run did not work. Especially when he started running his mouth, trying to cover for the company's flaws on Twitter, and making himself not look good. So, obviously, people are going to this match expecting The Fiend to win, right? Well, it's not how it went down. Because the WWE didn't want Bray Wyatt to win yet, but also didn't want Seth Rollins to win yet. So if that's the case, why are they fighting each other? And then this is also the debuting of the red lighting. I believe the red Hell in a Cell had started the year before, which is also very, very stupid. I like that when we've had Hell in a Cell since Triple H had taken over before Vince came back, that we went back to the old version, because this was not nice. At first, I thought, okay, I could live with it, but after a while, it's like, nah, they gotta go back to normal. And then, the match started off good, but then eventually, it started, dragging out, and it started really, getting ridiculous. We had Seth Rollins hit, 12 curb stomps on The Fiend. And he no-sold them. And that the crowd started booing because it's like, okay, like, it's getting a little ridiculous here. Like, we get the point you're trying to make here. And then they had Seth Rollins start, like, walloping, like, all these weapons at the Fiend. A ladder, a toolbox, all this other stuff. That was completely okay with. But then he pulls out a sledgehammer. The same weapon that Triple H has as his signature weapon for all these years. And the referee's like, no, Seth, don't do it, Seth. Don't do it. This ain't you. It's like, but it's legal. It's a Hell in a Cell match. Anything goes. There's no rules. And Seth Rollins, is like resisting, but then he gives in, swings the sledgehammer down, hits the Fiend with it, and the referee called for the bell. And they're saying that this was not a disqualification. It was a match stoppage. Shut up! Why did you stop the match? Because Seth Rollins went too far. That's a disqualification. You can't. This is, again, Vince McMahon using his dumb vocabulary to cover up some nonsense that he knows he screwed up with. He knows the fans won't like. And then we have to have a stupid stipulation at a rematch when, again, it's also too late to fix the damage that you created. Of course, WWE does like to start its own damage and then take credit for fixing it when it shouldn't be happening all the time in the first place. The next month, they had a match at Crown Jewel, a Falls Count Anywhere match. This match got so much backlash for how it ended. Because once again, who ends a Hell in a Cell match in a DQ? It was a DQ. I don't care what you say. It was not a match stoppage. It was a DQ. And the Falls Count Anywhere match they had at Crown Jewel, the stipulation was the match cannot be stopped for any reason. So if Seth Rollins went too far with a sledgehammer that Triple H, again, has used for how many years, then what on earth can he possibly do here that could not be too far for you to not want to stop the match again? Makes absolutely no sense. And again, this killed Seth Rollins as the top babyface. Again, he was already struggling, but most of it wasn't his fault. And then, of course, it just set the Fiend back as well. Because even after the match, of course, when the fans are booing, the backlash they were giving was the same backlash we got for another match that's a little further on this list. We'll get to that momentarily. They had the Fiend, try to choke out Seth Rollins saying, yeah, he didn't win, but he still looks strong. Because Vince McMahon thinks we're stupid. Well, we saw right through the whole thing. And again, this match should not have even happened. It was not the right time to be throwing the Fiend at Seth Rollins. But once again, not only did you kill Seth Rollins as a top babyface, you also killed the Hell in a Cell concept. I mean, okay, I think if we didn't have matches like Edge and Seth Rollins, or like Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins, like some really good Hell in a Cell matches after this probably would have been a little bit higher on the list. But I feel like it's recovered a little bit. But this was still a black mark on WWE. Again, this is an example of Vince McMahon knowing this was not a right idea, but he still went ahead and did it anyways and insulted our freaking intelligence. This Hell in a Cell match is worse than Taker and Boss Man at WrestleMania 15. That finish by far, again, will still go down, in my opinion, as one of the worst finishes WWE has ever done. And because of that, this is my number 5 for my top 10 worst matches of all time. My number 4, double check it again, I believe I remember what it is. Yeah. Let's just get right to it. It's another women's match that I feel like not many people talk about. But just like the WrestleMania Battle Royale, this was another match that was meant for nothing else but for Vince McMahon to get a nice chuckle. And in return, make everybody else involved look weak. Let's roll into my number 4. Worst match of all time. That also took place during the pandemic era.
Number 4, the Women's Team Raw versus Team SmackDown 5-on-5 elimination match at Survivor Series 2020.
My name is Lana, and I am a royal soldier who will stand still and very tall. Again, as I said, if you think the Miss WrestleMania Battle Royale made all the women look like a joke, well then look at this match right here. Again, WWE has this habit of running people into the ground, not capitalizing them at the right time. And when you do finally give them the spotlight, it is too late. Nobody cares, and it makes everybody else look weak. Basically, you book someone weak as hell for like a while, and then you give them a title when nobody cares about them. But like a year or two earlier, they cared all right. That is the story, of course, with this match. This 5-on-5 Team Raw versus Team SmackDown Women's Survivor Series match at Survivor Series 2020. So going into this match, the big rising star, in my opinion, in this match was Bianca Belair. She had not been on the main roster yet for a year. She was an early favorite to win the Women's Royal Rumble, which, newsflash, she did. So even though she had a couple little setbacks, such as this, she still recovered and became a big star on the main roster. But this right here did not make it look so good at first. First off, we had these teams that just don't make sense. We have Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, who basically were frenemies, and basically it's just a reason to give Nia Jax a title. Give her more of a spotlight, because we want to see more Nia on TV, right? Huh? We have Peyton Royce and Lacey Evans, who they broke up Peyton Royce from her actual tag team partner, Billie Kay, to give her a singles push, just put her in a tag team with Lacey Evans. Why? I don't know. And then, who knows about the SmackDown side? Again, Bianca Belair, though, was the biggest person who had a lot to gain from winning this match in here. But then there was another little storyline going on. We got Lana, who had just gotten out of this horrible storyline with her being married to Bobby Lashley. Basically, treating Bobby Lashley like a freaking puppet, and it was so cringe television. That just, again, made no sense. And I still, to this day, don't know why Lana left Rusev. Because it made absolutely no sense. But anyways, so then they have, after Rusev leaves the company and goes to AEW, obviously they punished Lana by, for 10 weeks, getting put through a table on Raw by Nia Jax, before Nia Jax finally fell on my hole, which was god-awful. And the story of this match, of course, was that nobody on the Raw team trusted Lana at all. And Lana's even said in interviews that apparently, of course, they weren't even going to have Lana get put in the match. But then she said, I have to get some offense, and that way I look like, I put up a fight, this and that. So Lana, of course, does get in the match, but gets tagged out of the match, and everyone on her team tells her to stay standing on the steps and don't move. And Lana stood there like a freaking soldier in detention for the rest of the freaking match as everybody else gets eliminated one by one. And then the match ends with some random countout when Bianca Belair and Nia Jax start brawling each other. Ends in a random countout, and the person who barely does anything in the match, Lana, is sole survivor. Just because Vince McMahon thought it would be funny. And of course, this wasn't the only time they did this. They had something like this happen also in a battle royale where Lana won the number one contendership for the Raw Women's title. Did anybody else ever believe Lana was going to be a champion. Only time I thought was maybe when she was tag team with Naomi before she got released. But yeah, you got like a bunch of upcoming stars in this match. You got Peyton Royce, you got Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, Ruby Riott. You could not give any of them a rub because they all got eliminated like jokes. And then they have, of all people, the worst wrestler of this bunch. The one who's been built the weakest, built like the joke this whole time. Lana becomes sole survivor. What did this do? This made the women's division look worse. Nobody benefited from this. Lana sure as hell was not going to benefit from this either, but they still did because Vince thought it was funny. Once again, all you have to do is please the old man. The super out of touch old man that just hates that wrestling fans don't like what he like. And he once again just doesn't understand why. And he will never understand why. Because again, he is out of touch. And this is one of those matches that primarily shows why. Because he has a horrible, childish toilet humor and thinks it's funny to just let all these women be absolute jokes. Because once again, it's probably women that won't let them control him. So, definitely, it's not talked about as much as I thought it would be, but it's definitely, in my opinion, one of the worst matches of all time. And actually, according to this list, it is the worst women's match of all time. Because this is the last women's match. But it's still not the absolute worst match of all time. We're going to move on now to number 3. It is a match that I did originally not watch. But of course, after it happened and I heard how bad it was, I actually gave it and watched it. Of course, the day after this happened. And my gosh, oh my gosh. How did somebody come out of this not alive? How did somebody not come out of this not alive? This was embarrassing. If anybody has this next match as their number 1, I don't blame you. But let's roll in and talk about it. Let's go back to Saudi Arabia in the summer of 2019.
Number 3, The Undertaker vs. Goldberg, Super Showdown 2019.
Yeah, this was the first time ever, and it will be the only time ever. I can't tell you one person besides Vince McMahon who loved this match. This match was just literally an insult to both of these men's legacies. It was that bad. So, this match was the main event of Super Showdown 2019. Goldberg was coming in like here and there, having these random matches to put people over. He was more so there just to like kind of take the heat. But at this point, he was just overstaying his welcome. I'm sorry, he really was. I mean, I was happy with his run, but also I gotta continue to say this too. He said he came back, and his big goal was to erase that bad taste that left in his mouth whenever he was around the first time, and things weren't working out well, and he left on bad terms. And he wanted to erase that, and he accomplished that in 2016 and 2017. And he goes on to have stuff like this. He even got heat for dethroning The Fiend. He was about to have a match with Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 36 that Roman backed out of. Nothing else was really good that Goldberg did from there on out. And this match showed that both these men had no business being in the ring with each other at this point in time. I don't care if these are two legends. These are two guys way, way, way past their prime. In their, mid-50s. Had no business being in a wrestling ring right now. This match was horrible. It went on for like a 10-minute match, but every move was botched. They were dropping each other on their heads. Goldberg got busted open. I think one time, of course, he dropped Taker on his head. Was how he did a stinking jackhammer or whatnot. It was that horrible. You could tell when Taker did that choke slam at the end of the match, that it was not really the best one choke slam either. You can tell he was just like calling it audible and let's just end this. And as soon as the bell rang, you saw that look on his face where he was just like, yeah, that sucked. Both men agreed that this sucked. Again, both these men should not have been wrestling each other. Way past their prime. Undertaker, for crying out loud, like, couldn't even do a match unless he got some medication injected into him. Goldberg, for crying out loud, was botching like crazy at this time. I'm sorry. Like, if you did this match maybe back in like 2005, maybe like 2010, I'm sure you would have gotten better results. But this was 2019. Both men were way past their primes, way beyond their last legs. And matches like this that were just god-awful just show, again, that WWE needed to stop relying on these past part-timers that were way, way, way past their days of being able to put on quality wrestling matches. But instead, they still chose to rely on them and put on a stink fest like this for blood money in Saudi Arabia. This was horrible. Again, it was embarrassing for both these men's careers. Of course, they would do stuff like have Undertaker team up with Roman Reigns at Extreme Rules, and then Goldberg come back and have literally like a cell fest with Dolph Ziggler at Summerslam to try to make up for it, which, okay, those were all good, but once again, it should have never gone down to this. It absolutely should not have. So yeah, this match by far deserves to be up as high as it is at number 3 on this top 10 list. And now we're down to the final 2. My number 2, if I was doing a list based off of matches from when I first started wrestling on, this would definitely be my number 1. But of course, there is a match I think that's even worse than this. But this was the match. As a wrestling fan, this was the first time I really, really felt let down. And this was the reality check, in which I knew who I was dealing with when it came to the wrestling business. And it was one of those things where they knew it was bad, but they were not going to change their minds. And they did everything they can to kiss up and act like we were stupid and try to make up for it, but nothing was going to work. Everything in this upcoming match was literally done on purpose, and there was no way WWE could hide it. And again, the first day I had as a wrestling fan that I felt so let down was because of this match.
Number 2, the 2015 Royal Rumble match.
Oh man, Royal Rumble 2015. I still remember this night. I remember this night because it was snowing really bad here. And at this time, I did not have the WWE Network. And I was so hyped for this match. We had, of course, the big story going into this Rumble match was Daniel Bryan returning. And again, this match is not bad because of Daniel Bryan not winning. But I even now still think back, if they were going to pull what they pulled in this match, and they knew the fans weren't going to like what they were going to do. But instead of trying to, find a happy medium, or at least find some way to at least come out of this Rumble still interested in what's coming, it would have been okay. But again, as I always say, the things that piss me off the most about Vince McMahon is when he does stuff on purpose and purposely insults our intelligence. This right here is the prime example of him insulting our intelligence. And again, I will still say this too. If they had no intention of having Daniel Bryan win this Royal Rumble, they should have not brought him back until after this Rumble. He should have never been in this Rumble match because we may not have been here. But once again, Daniel Bryan not winning is not the reason why this match is at my number 2 on this list. So going into this match, the big favorite to win was Roman Reigns. Now Roman Reigns was awesome, but at this point, everybody knew he was the chosen one. They knew he was the one that was going to be getting that rocket ship push and getting the new, poster boy, tag put on him. But of course, it was not the right time to start shoving Roman Reigns down our throats. And which, newsflash, it took them, 5 years to finally pull the trigger and let go of their vision of Roman Reigns and let Roman bring in his vision of Roman Reigns. Imagine if we would have gotten that a lot sooner. Would have saved us more of a headache. But anyways, the lineup of this match even was not that strong. You got a lot of guys in there that knew had absolutely zero chance of winning this. And then you bring out Daniel Bryan at number 10. And once again, listen to everything Daniel Bryan had dealt with the past year. He went through hell with the Authority to win the title finally at WrestleMania 30. But then, of course, he had to relinquish the title because of his neck injury. And then during that time, his father died. And who also died was his number one fan, Connor the Crusher from Connor's Cure. He literally lost everything after he had literally the best week of his life, getting married, winning the title, and then literally losing everything after that. It was the perfect comeback story, and everybody just wanted to see this man get back his glory. And instead of making him at least feel relevant, setting him up for a good storyline for WrestleMania, they brought him in at number 10 and it's eliminated him not even 10 minutes later like he was nothing. And the moment he was gone and the moment they did this, the fans just shut down and booed the hell out of the rest of that match. Because, WWE didn't even stop after that. As soon as Bryan got eliminated, the next person they brought in was Goldust. And they put up, of course, his Tron saying, "Shattered Dreams." And then Michael Cole is saying, "I know it hurts." But, of course, it's once again, showing that, oh yeah, we knew you guys wouldn't like this. But we're still going to do it anyways. And then Roman Reigns comes in maybe 2 people later. As soon as Roman Reigns came in, you knew he was going to win. Nobody else stood a chance. And again, the moment Bryan was eliminated, the fans turned off any excitement and booed the hell out of the rest of this Rumble. Oh, no. We're not done yet. Then they had the Authority's henchmen, Kane and the Big Show. Corporate Kane and the Big Show. Well out of their prime. They came in towards the end, and not only were they eliminating everybody, they were knocking them out and just dumping them over the top rope like they were garbage. It looked like they were... The illustration of how they were eliminating them made them all look like jokes. This turned into literally a segment on Raw. They did this to Bray Wyatt, to Dolph Ziggler, to Dean Ambrose, to all these other fan favorites. Just to try to make Roman Reigns have the big comeback story, and the crowd was not buying into it. Of course, what we didn't know though was Rusev was still in the match, as he was the runner-up in this Rumble in the end. But Roman then eliminated Kane and the Big Show. Still no sign of Rusev, and of course they didn't ring the bell yet to announce Roman Reigns as the winner of the Rumble, even though we knew he won this the moment he walked in the match. They had Kane and Big Show attack, and here's where you definitely knew. You definitely knew WWE knew that the fans were going to reject this match. They brought in The Rock. The Rock came out just to help Roman fight off Kane and the Big Show, and just for the crowd to give a big pop, be all excited because, oh my gosh, it's The Rock! Everybody loves The Rock! Guess what? The crowd didn't even buy into The Rock appearing in this match. They saw right through what Vince McMahon was doing. And even when Roman eliminated Rusev, when they realized he was still in the match, and The Rock raised Roman's hand, the crowd still booed. They were chanting, we want refunds. Hashtag cancel WWE Network trended for days. The crowd was pissed. Like I said, since then, the only other time I ever saw the crowd get this pissed off was at the Hell in a Cell match with Seth Rollins and Bray Wyatt. The crowd was pissed. Again, it's one thing when the WWE does not capitalize on something, but it's something where you knew they purposely did this and literally just like played the mind games with us. Bringing back Daniel Bryan, the person that they knew, if they put him in the Rumble match, they wanted to see nobody else but him win this. And then just to eliminate him like he was nothing, not even 10 minutes after he was in the match. And nobody else but Roman Reigns came out of this match with anything. And then having the oldest hags in the ring, Kane and Big Show, dump out the garbage, as they would say. There is no excuse for this. There was no excuse for them to literally play around with us like they did. Honestly, yes, I know there was some riots and whatnot after this, which got a lot out of hand. But no offense, WWE set themselves up for that. They set themselves up to get the backlash they got for this match. Again, to go as far as bringing in The Rock to kiss up to us, and that doesn't even work, you know you screwed up. And no matter how many times you try after that, you can safely say WWE, I got hair in my mouth, WWE never succeeded with Roman Reigns as that top babyface they always wanted. And again, the fact that they waited 5 years, to finally pull the trigger and find that Roman Reigns that we should have had from the beginning. My gosh. Like I said, if this was going to be a list of top 10 matches since I started watching, this would definitely be number one. Like I said, this was the first time as a wrestling fan I felt insulted and I felt let down. This match right here. Definitely the worst Royal Rumble match to ever happen, and definitely one of the worst matches of all time. But despite all that hate this match got, it is not the worst. You ready to see number one? Well, newsflash, it's no different than the last list.
Number 1, Michael Cole versus Jerry the King Lawler, WrestleMania 27.
Oh gosh, I am still going to say this to this day. Thank God I was not watching Raw back when they had this heel commentator in your face, annoying Michael Cole, literally just taking up the entire show and making things just so unbearable because you couldn't take him. Again, imagine if Raw was 3 hours during this time. You think it's horrible to get through now? Imagine if it was going on when this build was happening. So we got Michael Cole and Jerry the King Lawler. Why this match happened at WrestleMania, I don't know why. But around the time in 2010, when they first brought in that NXT reality show, apparently they were starting to experiment with Michael Cole as a heel announcer. And then he was literally, Vince must have loved it because they were going all out with this. They were making Michael Cole super annoying, so bad so that nobody wanted him on their television. He made the show absolutely unbearable. Then Jerry the King Lawler just started getting random title shots. And Michael Cole costed him, I think, 1 or 2 of them. And it led to them having beef. Michael Cole didn't feel safe around Lawler, so he built the freaking coal mine next to the announce desk, which was also annoying. Again, the stuff that's supposed to be keeping you invested in the match, the commentary, was turning into the whole show. So then, it leads to a match at WrestleMania. And keep this in mind. We were supposed to have Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus at WrestleMania 27. They got bumped to the pre-show because of this match. This match that should have literally just been like an in and out 5-minute horrible bad comedy match. But instead, between entrances, the match itself, and the ending, this took up 30 minutes of WrestleMania 27. Between Michael Cole's entrance when he first starts talking, and it's literally like nobody's reacting to him. You can hear a cricket whenever Michael Cole was talking in these entrances. Because everybody was just so annoyed, didn't care about him at this time. He took up like 10 minutes just from his entrances. And then the match happens, and again, it was also super overbooked. They made this a main attraction. This was a main attraction for WrestleMania 27. They had Jack Swagger as Michael Cole's trainer, and they had Stone Cold Steve Austin as a special guest referee. And again, this match was like a 15-minute match, and Michael Cole had most of the offense, and his offense was horrible. Again, like I said earlier about the cinematic matches, you have moments where you expose how wrestling's fake. Michael Cole, who had no business being in a wrestling ring, was another reason why to show that wrestling looks so fake sometimes when you have the wrong people in the ring. His offense was so bad that the worst part about it was Jerry the King Lawler was selling his offense like he was fighting Brock Lesnar. He made it seem like that Michael Cole was some vicious man, when in reality, he was a joke. A 5-year-old could have better offense than Michael Cole. And again, the match goes on way too long. Eventually, though, Jerry King Lawler gets Michael Cole the tap out. Fine. But then they go on for a long, like 5 to 10 minute celebration that was dragging on, just for the anonymous GM to show up and announce that they're reversing the decision because they felt Stone Cold Steve Austin got way too involved in the match, and therefore Michael Cole is the winner by disqualification. And it continued on this feud, this horrible nonsense of a feud, for 2 more months. So what was the point of this? Wasting our time having Michael Cole, an announcer, not even a wrestler, has no business being in a wrestling ring, being a main attraction to, of all shows, WrestleMania. Had this not been on WrestleMania, this may not have been as high up on the list. But they had this, again, not only at WrestleMania, it was like one of the main attractions for WrestleMania. They were relying heavily on this match to draw a crowd, when Michael Cole was getting nothing but cheap white Baron Corbin type heat. People didn't want to see Michael Cole get beat up. They wanted Michael Cole off the television. And again, they had this abysmal match at WrestleMania as a headliner. And they cut Bryan and Sheamus to give this whole crap fest 30 minutes. This should have been just like a 5-minute squash match where Jerry just beat up Michael Cole and gets out of there in 5 minutes and ends this. But with the overbooking of this, the amount of time it took up, and again, Jerry the King Lawler selling Michael Cole's offense like he's fighting freaking Brock Lesnar was just embarrassing. Just embarrassing. And again, I don't think anything's ever going to be able to top this off. Again, if you have 2 commentators be a main attraction match at WrestleMania, you're in trouble. And again, there was literally no point to this at all whatsoever. Definitely the worst match ever in WWE history. And you would really, really have to try to get worse than this. And that, my friends, is my 2023 top 10 worst matches of all time. Yes, it went a little bit longer than I thought it would, but there's a lot to say about these. And again, my goal is hoping that this goes out there and is a pretty strong viewed video for my channel. Again, this is a response to Just Alyx. I will hopefully be doing some shorts for this, just like I did for the 2018 version, just to get my brief thoughts on these matches, except for the honorable mentions. But again, I put a lot of work and effort into preparing for this stream, this video, so I hope that it gets the feedback that I'm hoping for. But that's my top 10 worst matches of all time in WWE 2023 version. What were your guys' thoughts on my list? What are some of your worst matches of all time? Make sure you leave your thoughts down in the comments section below. Be sure as always to slap a like on the video and subscribe for more content on my channel. And follow me on Twitter at TheClubWithTheMan93. Also follow me on TikTok and Instagram at TheClubWithTheMan1993. And until then, guys, I'm checking out. I'll catch you guys all later. And do not forget, in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. And for I am the man himself. And that's not just an opinion, that's a fact of life. Yeah!